This week on Quality Digest Live, Gallup reports an upswing in consumer perceptions of U.S. businesses.
That's right. Plus, Kaizen conquers the classroom. That and more when we come back.
And welcome back, one and all, to Quality Digest Live for September 15th, 2017. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making the news in the world of quality. I'm Mike Richmond, publisher of Quality Digest.
That's right, and I'm Quality Digest editor-in-chief, Dirk Ducharme. Okay, Americans' overall impressions, what they feel about 6 major sectors of the U.S. economy grew significantly more positive this year. According to the Gallup story, U.S. business sectors gain or hold steady in public esteem, written by Lydia Saad. Gallup has tracked, just so you understand where this is coming from, Gallup has tracked Americans' overall impressions of 24 business sectors and industry sectors each August since 2001, so about 16 of those, with the federal government added to the list back in 2003. The latest results that we will be discussing here are based on an August 2nd through August 6th Gallup poll. So if we look at the slide right here, this is kind of what the perceptions are. These are the ones that got the most positive reception. Farming and agriculture saw the biggest improvement, with 70% now viewing farming and agriculture positively. That's up about 15 percentage points from 2016. Americans are also more positive about education, the computer, real estate and sports industries, and the legal field.
Really?
Is that a typo?
That must.
If it was a beagle field, I could understand. Like a field of beagles. I mean, that would, everybody loves beagles.
I think that a lot of lawyers probably answered that poll.
I'm not sure about the legal field. All right. Now, here's the interesting bit, to me anyway. This surprised me, and Mike, I don't know. It probably wouldn't surprise you because you follow these kind of things. But the public's perception of industry of all types is partisan.
I read that too.
And
yes,
I didn't. Yes. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yes.
It's not unique to a particular industry. Saad writes that, for instance, this year, that Republicans are behind most of the positive change in industry perception this year, viewing almost all industry sectors more positively than they did in 2016. And this includes increases of 10 or more points for half the industries measured, particularly in reference to education, farming, agriculture, real estate, restaurants, and electric and gas utilities. At the same time, for Democrats and those who lean Democratic, their views of most industries were flat or down slightly compared to 2016. Democrats gave just 4 sectors, farming and agriculture, the computer and grocery industries, and education, significantly higher ratings than, let's say, a year ago. Now, what Saad, she didn't say this explicitly, but what seemed to come out of the article is that these perceptions of industry are based on who currently is in power in the United States legislature and president and so forth, right? So right now Republicans are in control, so Republican constituents see everything more positively, and I think the implication here is that in a year when you had Democrats in charge, that it would be just flopped. And I'm wondering, since you're a person, what do you think? What's all about? What's that all about?
I would be interested to know, and I haven't done this, but I'd be interested to know what that report looked like in 2009.
Exactly.
When Obama had his first year in power, and
Right.
the Democrats were in control of the Congress at that point. It's the most analogous from the other side of it. But it makes sense. I think what Saad is saying makes a lot of sense.
It's rose-colored glasses. You're in charge, so
just
everything looks good.
You just feel good. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, when you answer a survey like that, you're predisposed to want to give a positive response because, hey, things are going great.
Right.
You know, our guy's in office and we have control.
Yeah, and if our guy isn't in office, then everything sucks.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Okay.
So I think that she's exactly right. And I read that too, that bit about the partisanship and Republican respondents being much more positive. And it totally makes sense. I mean, it's what you would expect to see. If it wasn't that, you'd say, well, what's going on here? Something under the hood that needs to be looked at. But that is the most common, acceptable, understandable interpretation, I think, of that statistic, no doubt. All right. Well, as many of you know, we have a special relationship with the Coordinate Metrology Society. We're the media partner for this outstanding organization, which is the absolute authority on all things pertaining to hardware, software, and peripherals for close tolerance, large volume, portable dimensional test and measurement. During the past few years, the Society has rolled out their Level 1 and then Level 2 personnel certification program to help industry better understand the value of trained metrologists. CMS certifications help metrologists prove their skills to current or potential employers as well. The CMS Certification Committee is a dedicated group of experienced industry professionals who have devoted countless hours to the launch, the rollout, and the ongoing success of this program, which undoubtedly has been one of the Coordinate Metrology Society's biggest and most important initiatives in recent years. The chair of this committee, Randy Groover, joins us now for our monthly CMS Corner segment. Randy, welcome back to Quality Digest Live.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Dirk. Glad to be back. We've got a number of things underway this year that I think will be of interest to your viewers. Rolling out some new certifications and making some great strides in making our certifications available to a broader audience through opportunities at some of the sites that we've authorized to proctor certifications on our behalf.
Well, I think it's interesting because we have talked about how much has gone into this, and I mentioned it in my intro as well. And it's been several years now since the CMS has launched the program. And that's really enough time to kind of get a sense for how it's affected metrologists in the field. So what have you heard from industry professionals about the impact that this program has had on their careers?
You know, two things come to mind. One is credibility, and another is confidence. So I think that the professional certifications, it reassures customers that that you've met some professional standards, you have demonstrated skill and knowledge, that you subscribe to a code of ethics, and most importantly that you're committed to the profession. The recertification requirements built into our process are pretty robust, and it really does speak to your commitment to staying abreast of the latest technologies, participating at learning events, all those types of things that support a professional career, over the course of your working life, I think are baked into our recertifications. So it really does speak well to the person that has attained that level of credibility with our certification program.
Well, Randy, you work at Boeing. You work as an employee development specialist. So in this role, I would imagine you get to witness the effect of the CMS certification that it can have on a major industry OEM. So how has Boeing benefited from the existence of this certification?
Well, I think that Boeing benefits from certifications, in a number of ways. When suppliers are competing for contract work, I think certifications are credentials that can help support the credibility of the organization that's making those kinds of commitments to bid. Boeing has a broad range of certifications internally that folks are required to have for a variety of reasons. The portable 3D metrology world and certifications, I think, are going to be some noteworthy gains within the organization in the near future. I really can't speak to any detail, but I think that certification will become more prevalent. So I think that's probably how it's impacted the folks that I have opportunity to interact with at Boeing.
And Randy, the CMS certification program now, it launched with a Level 1 written exam a few years back, and the Level 2 certification is a hands-on test of proficiency using a portable CMM and most recently a laser tracker. So what other equipment is going to be offered for the Level 2 certification going forward?
Well, next up this year is scanners. So we have a sub-team that is coming together right now to start performing the task analysis to develop the performance or hands-on certification for scanners. So we hope to have that ready for, I would say, pilot in CMSC 2018. Photogrammetry, post-processing of data would round out where we intentionally defined the scope of what we hope to develop certifications for initially. However, there is and has been an interest in fixed CMMs and certification for that hardware. So we, over the last few months, a level 1 certification for fixed CMMs has been developed. So we're working through the details right now on launching that also at CMSC 2018 for the CMM operator audience. So that's, I think, a pretty big investment for the organization to kind of broaden our scope into the fixed CMMs with this certification.
And Randy, we're kind of coming to the end of our segment, but for those in our audience that might be interested in pursuing the certification through the Coordinated Metrology Society, what are the next steps? What things should they do to consider and do going forward?
Well, I would go to the website, so www.cmsc.org, and you can click on the certification tab, and all of the documents, the applications are all embedded, as well as the handbook. So the certification handbook is your one-stop source for the background, the history, the proctor sites, contacts, all of the requirements for certification, recertification. Everything is in that handbook. So you can download that handbook again at our website and start through the process.
Well, Randy Groover of the Coordinated Metrology Society, as well as Boeing, thanks again for joining us today and giving us an update on the certification committee and the work that you've done. Great work there, and thank you for doing all that work on behalf of the industry.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Randy. We'll see you soon.
See you, Randy.
Bye, Dirk.
All right, take care.
Good stuff they do there. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah,
to talk to
it's a
Randy.
unique, it's a unique program. It is still the only one. It is still the only one out there for large volume. Close tolerance certification for operators.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. All right. Well, the next article proves that opportunities for improvement can be found pretty much wherever you look, and that lean practices can offer lifelong lessons. And our very own Christopher Martin penned a great op-ed that appeared in yesterday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter titled "Kindergarten Kaizen."
Love it.
You know, and I tried, Dirk. I tried to come up with a Arnold Schwarzenegger takeoff on that. Remember Kindergarten Cop?
Yeah.
But I couldn't find a rhyme for tumor. It's not. It's not a tumor. It's not.
This reminds me everything I need to know about Kaizen. I learned in kindergarten.
Even better. See, why did you do this story?
Yeah.
Well, the article takes Christopher's obsession, and he does have an obsession with this, by the way, with seeking out quality in all different nooks and crannies, and it takes that to its logical extreme. In this case, that involved Christopher's 5th grade son, and the broader perspectives of how parents and teachers can use 5S, Gemba walking, Kanban boards, and the like to help kids learn faster and more effectively. And as an aside, Dirk, you and I both love Christopher's use of the 5 whys to try to uncover why his kid didn't do his homework.
Everybody's had this comment. Why didn't you do your homework? I forgot.
Why did you forget?
I didn't write it down. I don't have any pencils. You have lots of pencils. I'm buying you tons of pencils. Where do your pencils go? I don't know.
This is great. This is great. And that actually leads to the next part of this, because it was classic. I mean, the article, just like that, the article is filled with a lot of anecdotes from the classrooms of today. And they all involve the sense that students of any age, I think, should really focus more on culture than tools, I should say. And that sounds familiar. It should, because it's one of the foundational principles of the lean methodology. In the framework of the classroom, for instance, specific skills and knowledge, i.e. tools, are useful, of course, but what's really important is developing the ability to think critically and see the big picture, i.e. culture, right? Exactly right. Now, an obsession with the first without the second, again, skills or tools versus critical thinking or culture, is a pathway to limited development for kids or adults. And I think that's probably a really good lesson. It's probably the big takeaway from this particular article. And that, therein, Dirk, hangs a tale.
Okay.
And we're going to kind of do a mini off script here.
All right.
Because I want to tell you a story of myself and my kindergarten and post-kindergarten experience. Now, you may not know this about me, Dirk, but when I was younger, not anymore, when I was younger, I literally had a photographic memory.
And now it's CRS.
And now it's CRS. But when I was young, I could look at something. This is why baseball statistics, history, dates, things like that.
You know them, yeah.
I would just recall it like that because I literally, and this is the definition of a photographic memory. I could close my eyes and see the black ink on the white page.
Wow.
And just see, July 2nd, 1776. I mean, so July 2nd, 1776, the date in which the Continental Congress first completed the Declaration of Independence and forwarded on for signature. It was signed. It was ratified on the 4th, but it was actually signed on the 2nd. So, I would know, the teacher would say in whatever grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and what date was the Declaration of Independence actually signed. And I'd say, well, July 2nd. I knew it was July 2nd was the date. Everybody says July 4th, but that's the date it was ratified. Anyway, I would know this stuff, and everybody like, wow, and I get an A or whatever, B plus because the teacher didn't like me, whatever. The point is, did I understand the meaning of that? Did I understand, why it was signed?
Fact.
It was just regurgitating a fact. I wasn't really bringing in this idea of why that was important, and that was fine. I could cruise through grade school, middle school, even into high school. But when I got to college, I realized that, you actually have to integrate those facts with some actual understanding, some critical thinking, some perspective. And I didn't have that because it came so easy to me to just kind of regurgitate those facts, those skills. I didn't learn the cultural things about why those skills are important. And that has hurt me. And I think that that's a big part of what this article really is all about, this idea that, you want to help kids see the process. Show me the math, as they always used to say, right, in these questions. Don't just give me the answer, show me how you got to the answer. And that's important. I think it's important for kids, or adults, and for that matter, to understand the processes behind just the answers. And that applies to industry too.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I took away from this was slightly different, is we don't realize how many of these tools, and Christopher alludes to it in there, that teachers are actually using. I mean, he talks about going to the Gemba. Wow, what's a teacher go to a Gemba?
Right.
Well, the teacher's in the Gemba. I mean, she's walking behind, she's looking over the student's shoulders, she's kind of taking notes of, who's doing what. Maybe at the same time she's understanding, hey, maybe the way I'm teaching this isn't working, the students seem to be having a hard time.
Right.
And she can see that because she's right there in there watching the students trying to struggle with learning something, right? So, I mean, it's funny, teachers are using a lot of the tools that we talk about in industry because they have to, because as he mentions, you got one teacher corralling 30 fifth graders. I mean, that's like worse than herding cats,
I know.
right? And so they got to be super organized, so they got their system of 5S, right?
Yeah,
they got their system of 5 Ys where they're asking their students to kind of draw them out. And they're using all these tools, but they wouldn't even know that they're called that.
Well,
it's funny.
Exactly. I mean, Christopher referred to the 5S'ing of his kid's backpack. Because when we talked about the kid not being able to find his pencils all the time, he said, well, let's look at this. The backpack's a mess, right?
So they dump it out. It's just a jumble.
All old stuff in there. So they cleaned it out. They 5S'd the backpack. Now, the kid would never say it was a 5S process. He wouldn't have any perspective on that. Yeah. But that's what it was.
He'd get bullied mercilessly at school.
From
I do 5S.
Yeah, bang. That was my experience, but that's way before that. But no, I mean, this is a really good point. I think that the idea that these cultural things that we learn, if we can learn them early, and you kind of look at things as a system. It's really system thinking, if you want to even take it a step higher than lean methodology. It's systems thinking, and it's looking at things as they interrelate and as they correlate to one another, and understanding that any individual piece of that is only one individual piece of it, and there's a much broader perspective. And I think when kids or adults can take that perspective and look at things from that higher level, it's just going to be easier,
right.
And you're going to be much more adaptable. Like I say, you're not going to find yourself like I did, maybe getting into high school or college and being like, well, geez, I know the facts, but I don't know what they mean.
I have no idea.
I mean, there's not as easy of an understanding to see how that works. So, good article from Christopher as always. He does a great job of putting those articles out there. Check that one out. It's really, Christopher's a great writer. He's absolutely one of my favorite writers that we cover. And you're not bad.
Did I get demoted?
Christopher's
no, he is.
He's
really great.
So check that one out.
Good.
Okay. Well, for the last segment of our show today, we have a really interesting tech corner for you, and we always really enjoy it when we have a guest actually come into the studio and do a tech corner with us. So joining us now, joining Dirk now, is Jeff Peterson, the International Sales Manager for the ZCAT, portable direct computer control coordinate measuring machine. So take it away, guys.
That's right. Thanks, Mike. Yep. And yeah, we do have Jeff Peterson here from
Thanks, Dirk.
ZCAT, and a very interesting looking something that you called a CMM, but this doesn't look like any CMM I have ever seen in my entire life. So tell us what the ZCAT is.
Yeah, you're right. It really doesn't. We get all kinds of descriptive things from people when they see it, but it is the world's first truly portable direct computer controlled coordinate measuring machine. So by portable, it weighs 30 pounds or 13 kilos, depending on which, I think we can just unplug it, so we're not even
runs on battery?
It's on battery power, so it'll run about 5 hours on a battery. Right now we do have a cord going to the PC, but we could be wirelessly connected to a PC too, either through Bluetooth or through Wi-Fi. But today we are connected with an Ethernet cable. But the ZCAT has 4 axes of measuring. There's a rotary encoder in the base, so it rotates 360 degrees. There's a linear scale in the Z-axis and a linear scale in the cross-axis. But there's also a linear scale or a rotary encoder in the probe, so the probe can actually rotate 360
and you
degrees.
can see the rotation of the probe. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
It all is translated onto our XYZ as linear, but we are doing angles too. But that's part of the technology that kind of grew from the founder of this gauge.
Now, so show us how you would, I don't know, you mentioned to me off camera that this is very easy to program and then run. So show us a simple program.
Yeah, we can virtually teach anybody to be a CMM programmer in a few minutes. So we do what we call teach and repeat. So this is the handle of the ZCAT. I can move it around by hand here. We have it hooked to the software. I can tell it ahead of time I want to measure a plane. In this case, I'll come down here and physically touch off at least 4 points, and it will measure a plane. And I might make that a reference because we always want to reference a few features and confirm that. And maybe I'll measure a line. And again, I tell it ahead of time, so I'm teaching it. Take as many points as I want. I'll make that line a reference. I'll confirm it. And you can see it's drawing it right on the computer screen as I'm doing this. Now I'm going to measure a diameter, and I'll physically come down here and touch at least 4 points. I could touch as many as I want, but to make it easy, we'll just do 4. I'm going to make that my reference too. So I've got a plane, I've got a line, I've got a circle. I'm going to go ahead and measure a couple other quick features here. Again, this is the manual, this is the teach part. Finish that one, and we'll do one more, and then we'll let the ZCAT take over. So you can see how easy it is. The operator just has to be able to tell it what I want to measure, then do it, and we can go into our software now and tell it to play. And the computer and the ZCAT will take over. Now it's going to duplicate every point that I took, only now it's going to vector perfectly to the part at the same speed every time. And
if we can come back to the gauge cam on this so you can see this is running automatically here. Okay, so now the computer is controlling this now.
Yes, now the computer's controlling it, I'm not touching it. We have it programmed to measure at a certain speed every time, and that's something I couldn't do by hand. That's where a lot of the repeatability and accuracy comes in, because any manual gauge, any handheld gauge, the operator is going to have a big effect on the measurement. We've taken the operator out of it. The operator is writing the program for it. We can take measurements manually, and it's always interesting to compare those measurements when manually and then under DCC, how much more repeatable and accurate we come in when the DCC takes effect.
Interesting. So once it's done, I'm assuming the results will show up here on the on the screen.
If you look at the screen, you'll see I've got a couple of circles. I can double click on one of the diameters and drop it. It'll tell me what that diameter is. Maybe this diameter, maybe this diameter. Maybe you want to know the distance between this diameter and this diameter, maybe the distance from the center of that diameter to that line.
Wow.
So that quick. And
Very
it's also
quick,
highlighted in green if it's in tolerance. If it was out of tolerance, it would be red. So hopefully they're all green.
Right. Now, I'm assuming that this could be set up as let's say an inspection tool, and it would tell you whether a part passed or failed. You can probably go in and change the tolerances.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only can you do that, so if I were to right click, you can see it already it predicts what the nominal would be based on the number of the actual measurement. It'll be green if they think it's in tolerance. If it's out, we can edit those. We can edit the nominal, we can edit the tolerance, and it will turn red if it's so. Not only the report will be green or red, but the graphics will be green or red too. So when it's all finished, you can have a a visual like this, or you can have a full printout in Excel format.
Now tell me, so we mentioned right at the top, very interesting form factor. So what was the market that this was intended to reach, given that it's got this, honestly, just a very peculiar form factor. I mean, the way it's set up, rotational stage and just an arm that slides back and forth, very interesting.
Well, there are portable CMMs out there, but they're all manual. This is the DCC, right. So we wanted to make one that we could put out there, but parts are getting smaller, so this being not a typical B89 bridge type machine, we've got a Radius Z machine that we can actually put parts all the way around here. We could have identical parts around it and do all of them at the same program. You could batch half a dozen, or I've batched up to 16 parts in one under one program. Or you could have multiple different parts. The operator would just have to pull up the right program and tell it where to go. You could have 4 completely different parts at different quadrants in here and measure those. Just tell the right program.
It seems to me like for a small machine shop, this might take the place of height gauges and calipers and micrometers. Rather than using all these hand tools, this might just take the place of those for a small shop?
Absolutely. If we'll place these right next to a machine tool on a surface plate or on a good sturdy bench, and the same operator who's making the part, who used to measure with calipers, micrometers, height gauges, transfer stands, you name it. Now they can put the part, if it's in a fixture, it's really nice. They hit the fixture, bring up the right part, hit play. The ZCAT does all the measurement for him while he goes off and does the rest of his job.
Huh. Now, I noticed, looks like you got a Renishaw probe on there.
Yeah, that's the standard Renishaw TP20 touch probe.
Okay.
But what's not standard is that it rotates 360 degrees. So normally this will have maybe a star configuration on here. But we can accommodate every angle for that horizontal probe, so we really only need 2. Now we could have it set up with only a horizontal or only a vertical, or a vertical and a horizontal, but there's no need for a star configuration. But it is a standard off-the-shelf Renishaw TP20 touch probe.
Okay. What kind of accuracy and repeatability are you guys getting out of it? We should say this is a shop floor tool as well.
It's meant for the shop floor. A lot of people do use it in their gauge lab. It depends on the company. Everybody's a little bit different. We get accuracies at about 7 to 9 microns, depending on the part size. We get repeatability at 2 to 3 microns. So that's better than 2/10 on the accuracy and better than 1/10 on the repeatability if you're dealing with inches.
Now I gotta say, we can't leave without talking about the inventor. There's a name. Not everybody knows the name, Homer Eaton. Maybe that name means something to some people, but I guarantee you know at least one of his inventions, which is what?
Yes, the Romer arm.
The Romer arm, portable arm. Yeah.
Homer invented the articulating arm machine, the Romer arm, and that was his company for many years. And he was very proud of that. I mean, he's very well known in the industry. Yeah. But he always wanted to make a motorized version of it, to bring that accuracy down and that repeatability down to the numbers. So he always wanted to do that, but the technology wasn't there, but now it's there. He developed this. We've gone together. We've formed a company to manufacture these. They're made right here in the United States, in Massachusetts.
Wow. And price?
The base unit on the ZCAT is under $40,000 here in the United States. That's the price we've have it set at. That's the base unit without the software. You add the software for a little bit under $5,000. There's accessories. There's a lot of fixturing that you can add, but the typical machine is usually under $50,000, set up, installed, trained. And
it comes with its own software, but is it compatible with other third-party softwares?
Yes. That's another one of the criteria he had. He put an I++ interface in it, so that's kind of the standard CMM software interface. So it is capable of being connected to a lot of different softwares, and we're currently working with multiple software companies. This is the basic package that we offer with it, but we're going to be having quite a few options available to customers in the future, in the very near future. So some of those name brand CMM softwares will be available in the ZCAT in the very, very not so far past.
Future. All right, yeah, terrific. Well, Jeff Peterson from ZCAT. Thanks. If you want more information on the ZCAT, there is a link underneath the player page. If you click that, that takes you out to the ZCAT website, which has all the specifications and particulars on the ZCAT. So click that link, go out there and take a look at it. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike, back to you.
All right, thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Jeff Peterson, the International Sales Manager for the ZCAT. Again, the ZCAT is the portable direct computer control coordinate measuring machine. Great system there, and a great tech corner, Dirk. Good job by you.
Good stuff.
Great job from Jeff there. And thanks to you guys for doing that. And also, of course, thanks to Randy Groover of Boeing and the Coordinate Metrology Society for joining us via Skype earlier today on the show. Thanks again to Jeff Peterson and ZCAT for showing us the ZCAT. And that's our show. Really good one today.
Awesome.
Yeah, quick show today. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
So long.